Hey scrapbookers, this is Trisha Morris from Club Scrap with the June Farm Critters page assembly tutorial. Let's take a look at what you get in the kit. Right away we've got some really sweet little chalkboard style stickers, an assortment of 3 really fun ribbons, including some ombre raffia, which is nice and rustic for your classic rustic farm. We've got these laser cut wood words that say wow or mom. 3 darling little wooden pig buttons, and then some silver charms, including this adorable little cow face, and then a barn and 2 little pigs. And of course we have our pre-cut photo mat sized to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. We have some super fun cut aparts, some gorgeous prints, and of course all the rest of your papers. You're going to marvel at the amount of scrap that you have left when you're finished assembling this kit. It's like one tiny little 3/4 inch piece. So let's get things in order here. I've got my instructions printed, of course, my trimmer, my 12-inch guillotine, and my accordion pocket file. So if you are new to Club Scrap and you don't have your accordion pocket file yet, if you're a member, you have access to a video tutorial and the instructions to make one of these for yourself. It's a really great tool to keep everything organized while we prep for 8 layouts all at the same time. Speaking of prep, let's get filing. We'll start out with our photo mats and put those in their appropriate folders. So we're gonna, let's take 3 red photo mats. Yours may not be in the same order as mine. And we'll put those in the pocket for layouts 1 and 2. We need 3 blue mats in the pocket for layouts 3 and 4. We'll take 2 green and 1 white in the pocket for 5 and 6. And then 2 white, 1 green, of course, for the pockets 7 and 8. Next, let's put the paper in the order in which we'll be using it. And the first piece I want you to find is a blue plain. So we'll just pull these pieces out of the stack and place them on our trimmer base until we're ready to trim them. And then we have a really adorable green print. We're going to put this face down on our trimmer base, followed by a white print. I'm sorry, this is a blue print on white paper. So that'll be next in our trimming process. And then find 1 sheet of that beautiful black plain. And yes, this black is really beautiful. Then we have a sheet of cut aparts that'll probably be near the back of your stack. And then make sure you have the piece with all the strips on it. We'll put that face down, followed by the other sheet of cut aparts. That should be on the back of the pile. And then let's continue with finding the base for layout 8. So when we dry fit our pages, everything will be where we want it. So that's going to be the other green print, followed by the other black plain. Then grab 2 red planes. This is such a beautiful barn wall red. It's just so rich and it's just the perfect shade. All right, then we're going to take 2 of those bright green planes, and then 1 blue plane and the other blue print. So all of that was face down so that when I flip everything back over, I have facing up the very first sheet of paper that we'll trim. Okay, let's get trimming then. This is a nice, easy way to start. We're going to do a classic 6 photo mat trim out of this 12 by 12. So the easiest trimming that you can possibly get. Let's place this in here at 6 inches. And don't forget to stabilize on the trimmer if this is new to you. Always push down on that clear bar. Then take the 2 6 by 12, stack them neatly together, and we'll cut them horizontally at 8 and 4. So that gives us 6 4 by 6s. Just an awesome way to use a sheet of 12 by 12 paper. Take 1 of these, put it in pocket 1 and 2. 1 of them will go in 5 and 6, and the remaining 4 will be placed in pocket 7 and 8. Next, very carefully, make sure you have this green print in the right orientation. We need that pig in the upper left corner. So the text is going to be upside down, but this will be the most ideal way to trim this piece. We'll cut at 8 1/2. That's going to take off the sheep. Then rotate this piece so that the pig is on the left, and we'll trim at 8. All right, take this guy, put him in 3 and 4. And this goat, it actually will be placed upside down in the layout. It's so adorable. Put that in 5 and 6. And then our lovely little sheep will go in pocket 3 and 4. Next, take the blue print with our family portrait here of all of our farm animals. These were, again, drawn for us by guest designer Terry Einer, and then magically incorporated into our scrapbooking style by our very own Jacqueline Carney. Okay, so this piece we're going to cut, again, this should be on the right and vertical. We'll cut at 11 1/4, 8. So that's going to strip out this artwork, which is what we want. 8, 7 1/2, and 3 1/2. Okay, rotate this piece so it's horizontal. We'll make our classic 3 pieces at 3 3/4 measurements. So if you've been doing this for a while, you might have these numbers memorized. The first one is 11 1/4, then 7 1/2, 3 3/4. That'll give us 3 rectangles, all in pocket 1 and 2. And then, ladies and gentlemen, your scrap, the only scrap in the whole process. We have a 4x12. We'll trim that horizontally at 6. And those pieces will be the same size and used in layout 5 and 6. And then we have some strips. The 2 narrow strips that you have left will go in 5 and 6 also. And then the farm family portrait will go in 3 and 4. Next, we have a black plain. We're going to make a lot of strips out of this because the black is so nice for adding contrast between our page titles and those strips that we make, and then the other content on the page. Great for anchoring. So let's begin by making a very narrow one. We'll cut at 11 3/4, and then 11, 10, 9, 7 3/4, 6 1/2, and 4 1/2. Told you there'd be a lot of strips. Now rotate the 4 1/2, and you'll cut it horizontally at 9 1/4 and 6 1/2. Take this largest piece that remains here and put it in 5 and 6. And then you have 2 smaller rectangles that we made. We're going to cut those at the same time horizontally at 2 1/4. That should cut them in half. Both of these will be placed, 2 of them placed in 3 and 4, and the other 2 in 7 and 8. Now, if you were real careful and just let these pieces pile up, they'll be in the exact order that we'll file them. And I always find that it's easiest to pick up the whole stack, leaving it in the order it landed, and then it's easy to grab and file. It's sort of like you're dealing out some cards in a card game. Okay, this widest piece, 3 and 4. And the next one, this is a 1 1/4 by 12. That'll go in pocket 1 and 2. The next 1 1/4 by 12 will go in 7 and 8. Then the next 3 pieces, so that's 2 1-inch strips, a 3/4 inch strip. All 3 of these will be placed in 5 and 6. And then one last really skinny little guy that goes in 3 and 4. Okay, moving right along. So far of live footage, including a false start, I'm at 8 minutes and 47 seconds. So not bad for all that prep that we've got done already. Okay, this cut apart sheet, let's just trim these all into strips. And to help guide the way, of course, we always have our little registration marks here. They're very faint, and that's intentional because once we trim them, we don't want to see them anymore. So the goal is to align that registration mark with the edge, outside edge of your little stainless steel blade here on the guillotine trimmer. So that first cut puts us at about 11 inches. And then we're at about 10. I'm going to narrower here, 9 1/4-ish. I always default to the registration mark. 8 1/2, 6 3/4, 4 3/4, and 2 3/4. Once again, I will pick up the entire stack, leaving it in the order it landed. Put this on top. This first piece will be filed in 1 and 2. And then the black and white family portrait, which you can obviously color if you'd like, or just leave it black and white. That'll go in 7 and 8. The chicken, 5 and 6. This a little bit of country, 3 and 4. The eggs, 5 and 6 with our chicken. Then we have 2 blue strips. Both of those will go in 7 and 8. And this text strip with all the animal sounds, that goes in 1 and 2. Okay, now we have another piece to deal with. We've got a narrow strip of just words here. That should be on the right side when we begin our trimming. We'll cut that off first at around, it's going to be about 11 1/8. Okay, then be careful. This next time you cut, you have to look at the top to make sure you don't go through one of those pieces. That was at 7 3/4 and then 4 3/4. Rotate, trim the smaller pieces off the end. And we have this adorable Peking cow. He goes in 1 and 2, or she. That we have the hay there. Now this one, I didn't need artwork on this page. I have a lot of art to work with. So I flipped this over to the plain side. It's up to you if you want to flip it back. That goes in 3 and 4. Now we have 3 little elements to separate. The journaling prompt with the black border goes in 7 and 8. And then we have this small quote about a farmer, and this is used on 7 and 8. It's on the lower right corner of the left page, so it's kind of a small one. And then I love you. Just want to point out that, do you see the lamb here? His ears are what made the heart shape. So Jacqueline really cleverly combined those to create that heart. I think it's kind of a neat piece of trivia. That goes in 3 and 4. And we'll trim these into 3 sections. And the chicken will be filed in pocket 5 and 6. The pig, 7 and 8. And the sheep, 1 and 2. All right, this one we'll do 1 cut horizontally, and this home is where the herd is. Again, I had plenty of artwork, so I used it plain side up in layout 5 and 6. Then you'll need to make a cut to remove the greatest of all time, and then separate these 2 journaling prompts. The blue one is used in 3 and 4, the green prompt 1 and 2, and the greatest of all time 5 and 6. Now we have this long strip of words. These are actually designed to fit right within the chalkboard stickers at 1.5 inches each. So if you just trim this whole sheet at 1.5 inches, you don't have to do any further trimming if you don't want to. When I'm trimming at 1.5, I just simply look at my trimming base at the measurements here, and I subtract 1.5, so that puts me at 10.5 and 9. 7.5. By the way, these marks are not on this piece. 6, 4.5, 3, and 1.5. So if they've stacked up, I can look at my instructions and know that hay there will go in 1 and 2, farm fresh 3 and 4. The next 2, I love you and hot chick, 5 and 6. Holy cow, 3 and 4. Gather, 7 and 8. And the last 2, party animal and cowabunga, 5 and 6. Those are so fun. Okay, that's all the trimming required for this entire set. Again, our only scrap was this little 3/4 by 3.5 inch piece. I think that's a tolerable amount of waste, but I'm sure you could probably find a place to use it if you really wanted to. All right, I'm going to set my trimmer aside, and then we'll start assembling our pages. Now, if you're at home and you've got this remaining stack, what I'd recommend you do is just take, imagine you have 2 stacks in front of you. On the left, all of the papers that remain, and then just slide this over to the right. That's going to give you the base for layouts 7 and 8. But because of the size of my video screen, I'm just going to work with 1 page at a time. But at home, you can certainly work in a double page spread, since that's what's in each of our files. But I'd like to just make sure we cover all of the assembly details. I'm sure I'll answer a lot of questions that maybe that you would have had if you were just following the instructions on your own without me. So we'll begin, so again, with layout 8, I'm taking everything out of the pocket for 7 and 8, so that by the time we finish this whole process, what will be on top? Layout number 1. Okay, so on the right side here, I gotta make sure I'm turned to page 4 in my instructions so I can see what's going on. We've got a border strip here, and it's just gonna cover the little horn here on the goat. And we'll put the I heard that, which is This golf kit just cracks me up. We've got two little black mats, and these are anchored by this strip here. Now, when you add your photos to this, I recommend, it's not in the sizing in your instructions, but I usually will only subtract 1/8 of an inch from my photo when I put them in these smaller spots. Then take two of the white photo mats and we'll tilt those. Again, the secret to avoiding tangents when you're adding photo mats is to make sure one is higher than the other and they're offset. Rather than doing this, make sure they overlap slightly and the height is a little bit different. And then you can nest on top of these the white, which, you know, it's kind of nice to have them double matted so that you can see each photo mat individually. Down in the lower right corner, we'll add a journaling prompt just below the peak and the word gather. Now, if you'd like, you can certainly trim this more tightly before you place it on top of the journaling prompt. And then over in the right corner, we'll add wow to I heard that. You can add some ribbon that can be tied around those little mats. I'll show you the finished page with the ribbon tied on. I just put one on each, and I had enough, but just enough of the red ribbon to go around all the uses where I used it on this layout. And there's the gather, kind of tiny in the lower right corner. Then for page 7, we'll slide over our black plane, and we're going to anchor this with the Farm Family Portrait here at the bottom. And then I ran some red gingham just above that. And just as a reminder, when you do ribbon across an entire page like this, and you want to add a bow to it, first trim your ribbon. You can secure the ends of the back and then tie a little bow onto the ribbon. It uses a lot less than going all the way around. Then above that, we can put this cute little blue border strip, a vertical mat, and then kind of extending down here a little bit, we've got a blue horizontal pair of those. And this little guy. Now, here's the farmer quote, outstanding in their field. That'll be in the lower right corner. And on top of that, you can add the cute little silver barn charm. Kind of ties it all in really, really well. And here is the finished layout with everything glued into place. Of course, for that charm, I used my classic bookbinding glue and a needle tip applicator to add this. And once the glue dries, that's not going to go anywhere. All right, the base for layout 6 is this beautiful red plane. I've mentioned before that I do love it. Let's take everything out of pocket 5 and 6. And again, if you're not using the pocket, maybe you have a pile. So grab that pile. And we'll begin with that adorable little upside down goat. That'll go right up here. And we're going to make a nice little border strip with, see, I think the larger pairing will go on the left, so we'll set that aside. Grab one more. We've got a lot of strips here that go with the black. Here we go. So of all of the nesting strips that you have, take the narrowest. That's going to be the subdivider on this page. And in the upper left corner, we'll add our little chicken and the crazy cow with it. You can top him, that little loop on the top of the cow. If you just thread some raffia through the top and tie a bow, you can add him here, also with your bookbinding glue. Then in the lower left corner, we've got a triple mat. This is so cool how this worked out. So we'll start with black. This is 4.5 by 6.5. Then a white, which is 4.25 by 6.25. Then a blue, which is 4 by 6. And then we're going to grab that greatest of all time, and you can tie a little raffia around the right edge here. Now this is the plain side of home, is where the herd is, and I just, like I said, I had enough artwork. Then in the lower right corner, if you want, you can just trim these little stickers, trim right through the backing to create separate pieces for your planning purposes. This can go down here at the bottom of the layout, paired with the, holy cow, I think, no, it's I love you. See how he fits right in there? Now on my samples, I trimmed my sentiments to be a little bit smaller, and stapled some ribbon, which you could still do in this case. But I just trimmed them so you could see more of the chalkboard. It's sort of just a matter of personal preference. We did, however, design them to fit within the frame perfectly. And there's the little ombre colored raffia here on the finished piece. And then I strung just the ribbon across, and on the back I taped it. Then let's take the other red plain for layout number 5. And for this is kind of order of assembly. Just pay attention. I think the first thing that will have to go down on the layouts is going to be this nested piece, and then this will be glued in place. But then to know where these go, first we'll add a dry fit. No glue, in other words, no glue. We just want to make sure we have everything placed the way we want it before we stick anything down. We have these nested mats here. So that then tells me I can scoot this over quite a bit. Once you have it figured out, you can grab your grid ruler and get a measurement before you put these pieces down first. I also strung some raffia along the left edge, and then used 3 of these adorable chalkboard stickers with 3 sentiments on the left. Finished page right here. Here's that ribbon. So I stretched it first, then tied a bow onto it, stapled some checked gingham on the left edge of those tags before I put them down. And everything's been assembled nice and level with the help of my grid ruler. We'll use the green base for layout 4 and take everything out of that pocket. In the upper right corner, we're going to grab that nice large little peeking. This kit, I just can't help but smile. It just makes me so happy, and especially for this time of year, we're really getting weary of this incredibly unseasonably cold May we're having, and this just soothes my soul. There's another cut apart here. This is the Hey There that I used plain side up simply, again, because I had so much artwork available to me. And you see this narrow little paper ribbon. This is what's going to go and section things off so I can use that portion of that print at the bottom. Nice. Now these narrow strips are so tiny, I tend to use my bookbinding glue, just run it across there and add it with the wet glue versus trying to use my ATG because it's just way too wide. Then we've got 2 little vertical black pieces that nestle in there perfectly. Look at the spacing. This is so nice through here. And if you'd like, you can add, I'll prep this. The second set of pages that I make in the video, I always give them to Karen. So she has a lot of this prep work done for her. I want to make sure I help her out. Okay, so one little sticker goes there with the holy cow. Right there. All right, the last addition I made was this sweet ribbon, which is a combination of just a satin finish and a grosgrain combined together. And I just think it's really pretty. Okay, the base for layout 3 is the other green, and we'll anchor all of this, subdivide some space with our adorable sheep, and then anchor the top with a nice title here, matted in black. 2 horizontal blue mats, which help us dictate our positioning. So I'm creating a nice little box around those with these other stripped elements. Then to the right of the sheep, you can add, just tuck that journaling prompt in there with I love you. And we're going to have the sheep saying, wow. And how about a little chalkboard sticker down over here with Farm Fresh added to that. In the end, I also added one of these adorable little silver pig charms, and I glued that with bookbinding glue right to that spot. Lastly, you can add, just tie some ribbon around this whole thing, and I like to trim the ends into that little chevron. Looks really nice. All of that is bookbinding glue. It really helps attach all of those weird things like wood and metal, ribbon, paper to paper. Okay, that's that pairing. And let's grab our blue plane to finish things out with layout 2 and 1. Take everything out of pocket 2. Okay, we have a nice vertical border strip creating a space for us here to the right of it, which is where we're going to use these mats. You gotta make sure you have them positioned correctly. So they're going to be vertical. They're almost square, but if you do it this way, it's not going to be quite right. They have to be vertical, and look at that nice spacing. Again, if you use your grid ruler to help you with this spacing, here's a little secret measurement for you. 0 center, and I'm going to shoot for a square and a half. So 1 cube, which is the first dotted line on here, dashed line, 1.5 cubes. So I'm splitting that. That's 3/16 of an inch, if you want to know. And then if I rest the edge of this, I'm at 1 7/8 on both sides. That means I'm centered. And if I separate these by 1.5 cubes, then they're all equally spaced. I can do the same on this side as well. So I've got 3/16 here, 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 and here. Oh my gosh, it just looks so nice, right? I mean, you gotta admit, it's really, just my type A's will be so very happy. Okay, then we have this fun photo mat. Now what I did here is put this on a cutting mat and used a craft knife to cut around the outside edges of the cow. Then you just take the lower corner of this mat and slide him behind the cow, and I'll show you what that looks like on the finished page. Over here I've got a horizontal photo mat and then one more sticker. I do have that overlapping onto the picture with the words "Hey there" on top. Do you see on the finished page how that mat just sits behind the cow? And of course, don't add any adhesive behind this because you'll want to be able to slide your photo in there as well. There's the sweet little finishing touch with some stapled ribbon there at the top. Okay, the very last page in the set, we've got our blue print. This is so adorable. And we'll complement this strip with a little farm talk. And then how about slightly higher, slightly lower overlapped pair of angled photo mats. We can add a journaling prompt. How about our little sheep making you smile? You can add a little silver pig charm and some ribbon over to that corner. And then you can also add 3 little pigs. So cute. So what I do here is just pierce, I put a cork board behind there, pierce through those holes, and I usually just keep a needle with wax linen thread already attached to it, keep it handy all the time, and just sew them on and add a little tie. There is an extra sticker, so if you want to add this somewhere you can, but I didn't really need it. So here's the finished layout with my 3 stitched pigs. There's the back, so I went through all the layers, and then the attached pig with the gingham ribbon. I think that's just a cute combination. Everything's glued down and ready for my photos. This was quick, and again, with very little scrap, quite easy trimming measurements. I think this Farm Critters layout will pull itself together in very short order, and I hope you enjoy the whimsical, fun, entertaining value of this collection. A special shout out of thanks to Terry Einer for her artistic contribution, and to Jacqueline for, as always, making a beautiful collection for us. I'll see you next month.